All right, folks, we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. We're loading up all the slides. As soon as all the slides are loaded up, we'll get moving. So give us 2 more minutes.
Okay, everyone. So welcome to our 20th annual Collegiate Ethics Case Competition. As you might notice, the room is a little bit larger in terms of attendance from about an hour ago. A lot of students are here, primarily students from my business ethics course and class. So I want to say thank you to all of our students that took time out of their schedule to be here today. We have lots of different people here that are coming to this final event at different points. So I just want to tell you what you're about to witness. Earlier today, we just went from a field of 25 teams, Canada, the US, and Mexico. It's never easy, but we then went from a field of 25 to 5 teams, and each of these teams emerged out of a region. So you're going to get to see the final 5 teams. They did a 20-minute presentation earlier. Now they have to do it in 10. In an earlier round, they had 8 questions. Now they're going to have 1 question. So we've truncated everything in a real compressed time period. This is an amazing opportunity for you to see some of the very best minds in Canada, the US, and Mexico. I'm going to go ahead now and hand it over to my colleague who is going to talk to our team a little bit about the protocol and how things are going to happen. It may seem a little bit repetitious. We're going to repeat the exact same set of instructions to each of our teams that come up because we want to try to do this in the fairest way possible, okay? So, hand it over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Paul. Our first team presenting this afternoon is from Washington University in St. Louis. Give a hand for the team from WashU. So WashU, you will have 10 minutes to present. Jess right here in the front row will be giving you time cards at 1 minute. One question. Part of your 1 minute. And after you will get a 30-second and 10-second warning during the question. After that, you're good. You can take a seat and move on to the next.
600 strength. Now, 20 performance of one of the all. Which should controversial new asset class of cryptocurrency. Metza.
So we'll kick it off by introducing the crypto market, diving into our recommendation, then talking about ethical considerations, our implementation plan, and the economic impact before concluding. So to introduce the crypto market, a current snapshot of the crypto market reveals that there are over 10,000 active cryptocurrencies. The market cap of cryptocurrency is upwards of 900 billion. There are 300 million active users of cryptocurrency, and 18,000 businesses accept cryptocurrency as a valid form of payment. And concurrent with the growth of cryptocurrency has been university endowments investing in it in various forms, some investing in platforms, some investing directly in coins. However, the question we are here to answer today, of course, is this an ethical decision for your university to make? And today we'll be evaluating that decision based on the ESG framework, considering environmental, social, and governance impacts. And the stakeholders we're considering today are Mother Nature and the university, including students and faculty. And that brings me to our recommendation. Cryptocurrency. We'll get into this later. First, I'm going to pass it off to Matt about.
So take a look at that pillar of the ESG model, which is your environmental impact. It's first important to understand how transactions are verified on the blockchain. So there's currently two leading models. The first model, which is proof of work, which we invest at university does not invest in, which it pretty much involves miners competing on the basis of computing power to solve very complex problems. This is extremely energy-intensive process, and some examples include Bitcoin and Litecoin. Now, on the other side, the other method is proof-of-stake cryptocurrencies, which we recommend you invest in. And in this model, instead of using that highly energy-intensive process, validators stake collateral to ensure that they're honestly verifying these transactions. And this decreases emissions 99.95%, and some prominent examples include Ethereum. Now, why should you? Well, a September report from the White House and 170 million metric tons of a proof of work cryptocurrency specifically. That's 0.4% global. That is more annual CO2 emissions than the entirety of the Philippines. Well, for emissions to improve, either the infrastructure or renewables need to grow. Bitcoin's improvement protocols, it requires infrastructure. But because most voting make that change in mining. Now, They're to imply that renewables are growing. In fact, renewables, renewable infrastructure, when a lot of the raw materials by 2030. Argument outweigh those environmental impacts, but really this is a complete when you take a look at the fact that, let's just look at one statistic, in the next 10 years, an increase of 150 million Latin Americans will face water scarcity. And as a result, your endowment should not invest. Like we said, those proof of stake cryptocurrencies, I'm going to pass it off to Shreya to talk about.
It's very important to understand the difference between the traditional financial system and the decentralized financial system that Another huge benefit is cross-border remittances, which are very important for the socioeconomic development of low and middle income countries, like Guatemala, for example, which gets 10% of their annual GDP from remittances. However, a lot of remittances are eaten up by transaction fees. You can see that 7% were eaten up by US fees in 2020. However, if you were to use a proof of stake cryptocurrency like Ethereum, a much smaller proportion would be eaten up by transaction fees, and the rest would go directly into the economies of developing countries. And now let's look at the state of cryptocurrency in India, where crypto is very popular. However, the government has been concerned about how much money is leaving the local monetary system and going into the crypto market. So they've come down with a series of regulations. And while these regulations did cause a decrease in volume of trading crypto in the short run, the long-term projection for crypto remains strong in India at 240 million in 2030. Now let's talk about another group that seeks to benefit from the rise of cryptocurrencies: women. In many countries, women do not have full access to owning property and managing assets. And this is a critical point because decrease in access to managing assets does not allow women to reap economic benefits. And so how does crypto change that? Crypto allows women to be paid for their work and retain their earnings in a safe and secure way. Additionally, it allows them to access financial products such as crypto wallets, which they only need internet for. Beyond that, they can send and receive money through remittances, and remittances are particularly important for women because they're more likely to be on the receiving end. And lastly, there's more available funds to back women-owned crypto startups.
So with concerns that so I want to address those concerns. The biggest concern is that the anonymous nature of cryptocurrency will lead to an increase of global crime, as criminals can hide behind these anonymous transactions. Now, while this is something we do need to monitor, there was $14 billion illicit transactions. All crypto networks, that's only 0.15% of all transactions. US dollar estimates that anywhere between 10 to 30% of US cash is currently being used. So we have to be relative when making an ethical investment as an endowment. There's also a myth that cryptocurrency is completely untraceable. And while it is very anonymized, realistically, all these transactions still take place on a public ledger, and while you can't see individual IP addresses, the US government has blockchain surveillance technology, and the IRS alone will use it in 2021. The National Narcotics Control Board recently came out with a report saying that crime busts. So due to the positive social and governing impacts of cryptocurrency, we recommend that we invest in real estate as an ethical investment, and we're going to have Shreya talk about those actual financial and economic implications here.
Right, so both of these assets. However, additionally, they have weak correlation with the equities market. But one area that they differ in is that there's fund capital minimums for venture capital that doesn't allow small endowments to always invest in venture capital. However, cryptocurrency is accessible for all sizes of endowments. And that's why we're recommending you size your crypto to your venture capital risk. So we suggest that you over 10% of your endowment venture capital portfolio to investments in Bitcoin.
So what does this look like? Investment. Well, something that's great about the Ethereum network and many proof-of-stake coins is unlike Bitcoin, which really just Ethereum is the underlying blockchain, innovation and gaming. And as continue to grow, that blockchain in demand. Now, how does this help? Well, really, sustainable in an inflationary environment, and that's why I think 2%.
And finally, we want to remind you that your for mostly benefits your university's scholarships, student financial aid, endowed faculty positions, and student programming. And because of that, an investment in ethical cryptocurrency is an investment in your university.
Thank you, and we are opening the floor for questions. Yeah, so I think that when you're looking at this from an ESG framework, you really do have to make that separation between your proof of stake and your proof of work cryptocurrencies. When you're looking at the ESG model, while people will argue that in those important to make sure that we are taking that into account. So we do believe that from an ESG standpoint, those proof of stake cryptocurrencies, those social and those governance benefits for women, for those developers, it will impact your university in a positive way. It doesn't have that proof of work currencies have is that it doesn't have those negatively harming the world as a whole. All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Washington University in St. Louis. The next group is on their way in. I think we're having problems with this one mic, so I'm going to try and switch to the lapel mic instead. Oh, wow. So one of the handheld mics is broken, so I'm going to give you this after I say a few words, so you can either hold it or clip it to you, whatever you want. So I'll read the instructions and then we'll get going. Okay. Oh yeah, pull your slides up, please. Sorry. While they pull their slides up. I'll give you the instructions in 1 second. Oh, here. Switch this. Oh, sorry. That's okay. Oh, yeah, I didn't know. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody. The second team to present is Indiana University. How about a round of applause for Indiana University? All right, gentlemen, here's the rules. You'll have 10 minutes to present. Just down here in the front, we'll give you warnings at 1 minute and 30 seconds. As soon as your 10 minutes are over, if you go over time, she will hold up a sign that says time's up, and then she will stand up and start screaming so that you have to stop talking. And then as soon as your 10-minute presentation is over, Doug Zanes, the chair of our Center for Leadership Ethics Advisory Board, will ask you one question. You'll have 1 minute to respond to the question. You may huddle, but that counts against your 1 minute. And as soon as your 1 minute, during your 1 minute, you will get a 30-second and 10-second warning, and then it time's up. As soon as your question is answered and that time is up, you can take your seat and observe the other teams. Questions? All right, let me give this to you, and then take it away.
Ethereum, Bitcoin, and blockchain. Is this the future of finance? Hello, my name is Raj Desai, and today I'm joined by my associate, Agrayan Gupta, to discuss whether the university endowment should invest in cryptocurrency.
To cryptocurrency, we want to start off, what's the duty of the endowment fund? Well, the endowment fund is first regulated by the legal boundaries by the Uniform Prudent Management Act, which says that the endowment fund must act in the short and long-term needs of the university and has a legal and moral obligation to the donors. Along with that, they also have their self-guiding principles in terms of they want to provide stability to the university, leverage resources of revenue, and encourage research and innovation. This promotes the duty of the endowment fund, which is promote prudent investing and the longevity of the university and its stakeholders. Speaking of stakeholders, the stakeholders of the endowment fund are those who benefit from the revenue generated by this. On the right-hand side, you can see our prioritized stakeholder model, which has the universities on top, followed by the students, the faculty, alumni, employees, and others. However, to become more nuanced, you can also look at the duration of interest. The fact that the students have a short-term interest, right? They go to the university, they get their education, they leave. Whereas the university and the faculty have more long-term interest and the longevity and perpetuity of the fund.
Now that we've covered more of the ethics behind the endowment fund, we'd love to dive into the world of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is actually a small facet of this crypto ecosystem that all works together to make this future of finance possible. First, we start with cryptocurrency, being a digital form of payment that are used by encryption algorithms. From there, we also have digital assets, which exist only in a digital form and come with a distinct usage right. And how do we own these assets? Well, that comes in with wallets and infrastructure. Wallets are these tools where investors are able to own these assets with a unique identification key. And also, we have infrastructure. These are businesses, VC firms, and private equity firms that are making the world of crypto a better place and more sustainable in the long term. And now, what is the foundation of cryptocurrency? That is blockchain. Blockchain, a digital ledger of transactions, is what cryptocurrency is based off of, and it's key to what the endowment should consider when investing in cryptocurrency.
So now that we've looked at the duty of the endowment fund and the crypto ecosystem, we can move into our recommendation. In phase one, we recommend the endowment fund doesn't directly invest in cryptocurrency because of economic volatility, uncertain legal market, and ethical considerations. Instead, we recommend that the endowment fund invest in venture capital funds, invest in the crypto network, which, as Raja has said, includes the exchanges and wallets, the infrastructure, and the underlying blockchain technology, because this offers above average market returns, offers diversification, and offers legal protection. In the long term, we recommend the endowment fund reevaluates their stance on cryptocurrency by creating a framework on the endowment's goals and how the future cryptocurrency market can adequately meet their needs.
So now let's jump into our phase one with the economic, legal, and ethical concerns of why we should not directly invest in cryptocurrency. First, we have the economic risks, which the market has exhibiting extreme volatility. We have an uncertain long-term crypto market leader. It's not backed by any stable asset, and businesses aren't using it as a payment system. Now, what are the legal risks? There are uncertain short-term and long-term domestic regulations. There is no government agency at this point in the United States that governs cryptocurrency and protects the investor. And also, international regulations are changing weekly and daily based on what cryptocurrency is doing around the markets. And finally, the ethical risks. Investing directly in the cryptocurrency violates our fiduciary duty as the endowment fund and our obligation to our shareholders and stakeholders. But beyond that, there's a negative environmental impact and high crime rates, which leads the endowment fund not to directly invest in cryptocurrency. So now let's first start at the economic risk of investing directly in cryptocurrency. As seen by this graph, you see a high annualized volatility for all major cryptocurrency coins, starting at Bitcoin and Ethereum showing a very high volatility. Compare that to the S&P 500, which has an 18.4% annualized volatility. Just based on those two factors alone, you can see that the extreme volatility of the cryptocurrency market does not align with our obligations to our university, which is long-term financial impact, and our students, which is short-term gains.
Alongside this economic volatility, we can also look at domestic policy. Although federal regulation has been proposed, there's no timeline on its implementation. This starts off with Biden's framework on the left-hand side, and which was proposed last month, which said, basically, we need to look at cryptocurrency, right? But he didn't set any regulation. Instead, he assigned different governmental agencies to look at consumer fraud, protecting the investor, and more. However, there's no idea on what this regulation can look like. Furthermore, we see proposed bills in Congress, but again, we don't know if they'll be passed, and we don't know what it will look like in the future. Alongside domestic policy, we can look at international policy, which continues to evolve as regulation is built upon. Individually, some countries ban crypto, and some countries fully accept it as legal tender. But there's a wide spectrum out there. And if you look broadly at intergovernmental policy, the G20 is currently drafting and reviewing legislation where there's no timeline. And while the EU recently passed the Markets and Crypto Assets Bill and the Transfer of Funds Regulation Bill recently, again, this provides some legal certainty, but we don't know how this will play out in actuality.
Now that we've covered the economic and legal risk of cryptocurrency, we have to look at the ethical considerations. And as I mentioned before, there's a significant sustainability impact for the environment. Just to seeing this above, between 2021 and 2022, we see 27 million tons of carbon dioxide emitted by cryptocurrency mining, which is higher than the largest coal plant in the US in 2021. And also, just recently, about a few days before this case was due, we had hackers recently steal $570 million. And Bloomberg estimates that this number in total for 2022 will be $3 trillion. Now, how does that factor into our ethical considerations of the endowment fund? First, we mentioned the duty of the endowment fund to provide long-term stability. The major volatility that we mentioned in the economic risk breaks this duty of the endowment fund. Second, we have our stakeholder analysis. For students, we talked about the uncertain legal risks, and we don't know what the regulations could be. That does not protect our students and does not protect our other stakeholders that we have as an endowment fund. And lastly, through a consequence-based approach, investing in cryptocurrency, the consequence could be that the money is stolen, hacked, or used for illegal purposes. You have to consider this consequence as a university when we're making investments in these type of financial ledgers. Now that we've discussed the economic, legal, and ethical risks of cryptocurrency investing indirectly, we now like to move to our second phase, which is investing in VC firms in the crypto network. We see many economic, legal, and ethical benefits of doing so. Our first, economic benefit. We offer above average market returns when investing in VCs and allows the endowment fund to diversify its assets. Second, many legal benefits because there's already existing federal frameworks that protect the investor and shareholder in VC firms. And third, we meet our fiduciary duty as an endowment fund. We meet our obligation to our shareholders, and we're helping society as a whole by investing in these businesses that are trying to make cryptocurrency into a better place.
So looking at why do we want to do the crypto network VC funds? Well, in previous studies, in a 2018 study, 94% of endowment funds are already invested in the crypto ecosystem. Further, we can look at the University of Michigan and Harvard, which have already done this. So what does this mean for us? Well, there's a lot of potential VC firms out there. One we recommend would be AU21 Capital, which invests in all frontiers of the blockchain through some of their highlighted investments below. Looking at the economic benefits of venture capital, though, the endowment fund's already invested in venture capital, as it's about 21% of our current allocation. This leads to a higher ROI, as if you put $100 in the S&P from 2018 to 2021, it results in $176. But if you put it into crypto network venture capital funds, you're over 3 times your initial investment, which offers great diversification, hedges our risk, and offers above average market returns. Looking at along with these higher ROI, we can also look at regulation, which protects the investors on VC firms, specifically through the Investor Advisors Act in 1940 and the Dodd-Frank Act of 2010, which has tightened this regulation. But more importantly, recently, the SEC put a proposal which will further tighten this regulation for investors and VC firms by requiring quarterly statements and annual audits, as well as making sure that VC firms continually work to protect their investors.
Now that we've talked about the economic and legal benefits, we have to consider the ethical benefits of doing so. We use this from the utilitarian approach, the doing the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. First, we start with our key stakeholders, our students, our universities, and our faculty. Investing in VC firms, as you can see, offer a 17% average ROI compared to a 7.5% of the endowment fund. We also reduce our energy consumption, and we are giving back to society. We also have these stakeholders that we are considering. We talked about their expectations, and the key factor is investing in VC firms offers a positive impact for all our shared stakeholders.
So now that we've looked at the first two phases, we'll move on to phase 3, which is reevaluating our future framework. This includes having a stable, the endowment wants a stable return, they want legal protection, and they want to maximize their fund benefit and stakeholder benefits. And we see the crypto network could eventually do this. Cryptocurrency market could do this through general international investment, federal and international policy that safeguards us, and cryptocurrency reaching its potential to provide banking for marginalized populations. In conclusion, we recommend don't directly invest in cryptocurrency, invest in VC firms invested in the crypto network. Thank you.
Question. Using the environmental, social, and governance, ESG, framework, argue for or against the investing of endowment funds from the University Foundation in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so if we look at the ESG framework on whether to invest in cryptocurrency, we can start with environmental. Cryptocurrency already consists of 1% of the global energy consumption, right? That's so much for such a little used asset. If we look at social and governments, well, like we talked about, there's a lot of fraud going on. If you look at 2018 and 2021, there's 60x more fraud in the market. So that puts a risk for the endowment fund in terms of, our money could be hacked, it could be stolen, it could be used for illegal transactions. And lastly, for governance, right, we have a duty to our society. We talked about the stakeholder approach. We talked about our duty-based approach. If we have to fulfill these, and we need to make sure we're doing so in a right system. So if we invest in cryptocurrency, we're not meeting that ESG framework in whole.
All right. Thank you, Indiana. Okay, so I'll hand this to you as soon as I'm done giving you the instructions. Okay, our next presenters are the University of Iowa. Give it up for the University of Iowa. You got your clicker? Okay. Here are my instructions to you. You have 10 minutes to give your presentation. You will get warnings at 1 minute, 30 seconds. When your time is up, Jess here will stand up and start tap dancing to indicate that you must stop. Immediately after your presentation, the chair of our advisory board, Doug Zanes, Esquire, will ask you one question. You will have 1 minute to respond to that question. You can huddle, but that counts towards your 1 minute. You will receive warnings at 30 seconds and 10 seconds. As soon as your question is done, you can go join the audience. Do you guys have any questions?
Nope.
All right. Shh. Here we go.
I want you all to take a minute to imagine you're a young, 18-year-old college student who's just beginning to invest in their future. While you're making this large decision, you discover that the university you attend invests in cryptocurrency. This was the push you needed, and you decide to invest money you otherwise would have put into savings. Suddenly, less than 2 weeks later, you've lost almost all of your investment and your savings. This could be the reality for thousands of young adults across the country.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Paul Eikenberry, and I'm joined by my colleague, Izzy Wilcox, and together we are Pi Consulting Group. Now, we're here to talk with you today about your interest in investing your university endowment funds into the cryptocurrency industry. Now, before we can fully understand and grasp the scope of this decision, we must first take a look at the current economical health of the crypto market. We must look at the history and purpose of endowment funds. And finally, we must view this decision through an ethical lens. Towards the conclusion of our presentation, we will also introduce our investment proposal. Throughout these 4 sections, we hope that you will clearly see that investing in cryptocurrency is not in the best interest of your university, and in fact, it's unethical.
To begin our market analysis, we first must ask ourselves, what exactly is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency is an electronic currency that boasts privacy and anonymity. It currently has some negative stigma surrounding it due to the lack of accountability it boasts. However, it is a cutting-edge industry today with potential for huge profits.
To begin our analysis, we must use an economic framework to understand the current crypto market and how the university fits into this market. In order to do so, we pulled price data points from 3 of the largest cryptocurrency investment options out there today. These include Bitcoin, Ether, and Litecoin. As you can see, each of these 3 graphs show the same story over the past 10 years, and that's a story of volatility. The cryptocurrency market is defined by high peaks and deep troughs. Now, what does this mean for an investor? The crypto market poses a high risk and high reward model for investors. Now, with those investors with a high risk tolerance and the financial means available for large risks, it may be reasonable to invest in cryptocurrency. However, to understand this decision through the lens of a university endowment fund, we must look towards the history and purpose of endowment funds.
The purpose of an endowment fund is to provide consistent funding to important university initiatives that cannot easily be started nor stopped. Some of these initiatives are tuition, research, faculty salaries, and infrastructure. Without consistent funding from these university endowment funds, these key areas within universities risk underfunding.
This consistency can be proven once we look at the average return on investments across all nonprofit university endowment funds in comparison to the average rate of return of the S&P 500. When looking at the average return on endowment funds, we see a 7.5% rate of return compared to the 12% seen with investments in the S&P 500. This tells us that endowment funds prioritize consistent returns and have a low risk tolerance. Factoring this into our economical framework, we cannot recommend investing in cryptocurrency.
As a nonprofit institution, you want to ensure that every decision you make is an ethical one. This is why we have found it most efficient to utilize the deontological ethical framework. Deontological ethics is a duty-based ethical framework that revolves around institutions' duty to their stakeholders. As a nonprofit university, your stakeholders are students, donors, faculty, the public, the environment, alumni, and a duty to the law. As we dive into the ethical implications of cryptocurrency, we must ensure that we are meeting and not violating our duty to these stakeholders.
To fully employ deontological ethics, we must first break down Kant's 3 categorical imperatives and ensure that our decision either meets or exceeds these benchmarks. These benchmarks can be described as the consequences of mass replication, the respect for personhood, and finally, the judgment under universal law.
Kant's first categorical imperative asks us to imagine if every other person and institution made the same decision that we are about to make. Kant also emphasizes that an ethical decision should not create an unstable or undesirable state of affair for society. When looking at the decision to invest in cryptocurrency, if every person and institution were to invest in cryptocurrency, effectively turning their backs on the US dollar, we would see massive instability within the US Treasury system as well as the global economy. This massive instability would lead to mass job loss, potential bank runs, and even an unstable central government.
Kant's second imperative circulates around the respect for your stakeholders' personhood. Now, the stakeholder that's most actively involved with the investment of these endowment funds is the donors that contributed their money to these funds. And even more so, most donations have a stipulation to endowment funds that ensure that investments have a close to guaranteed positive return on any investments made in the endowment fund. And the university must take the donors' requests into consideration when investing their money, because if not, it would be disrespecting their personhood. Furthermore, the stakeholders of the students and faculty must be taken into consideration as well, as they have many things on the line that their livelihoods can be in jeopardy of without the consistent returns of the endowment funds.
Kant's third and final imperative asks us to imagine we are a judge in an all-moral society. We must then ask ourselves, as this judge, would the decision to invest within cryptocurrency be permissible in our all-moral society? To do this, we must refer back to the university stakeholders. A major stakeholder that has yet to be considered is the environment. The environmental implications of cryptocurrency are huge. Purchasing just one Bitcoin, or in other words, verifying one Bitcoin transaction, results in 1,000 pounds of CO2. This is equivalent to a 5-hour plane ride. As a judge in an all-moral society, this decision would not be permissible. Because of this, when viewing the decision through deontological ethics, we recommend not investing in cryptocurrency.
Based on the ethical and economic frameworks we have provided you here today, our investment proposal is as follows. It's clear to us, based on your interest in investing in cryptocurrency, that your university wants to be on the forefront of an advanced and cutting-edge industry. That's exactly why we recommend investing in First Solar Incorporated, which is a global supplier of responsibly sourced solar panels and boasts an average rate of return of 21.8% over the past 4 years. Second, we recommend investing in Meridium, which is a Paris-based environmentally friendly infrastructure company and has showed an average rate of return of 5% over the past 4 years, but this figure is expected to grow dramatically as they expand their market share. Finally, we recommend investing in iShares Core, a steady and reliable mutual fund that has shown an average return of 8.6% over the past 4 years. And this figure is expected to hit up to 12% by the year 2030. Each of these investment options fit very well into the frameworks we have provided you here today because they check off each of Kant's 3 categorical imperative requirements.
Our investment proposal is dependent on milestones within the cryptocurrency market. Currently, we recommend using our alternative investments. You should not feel limited by these, but rather empowered to grow your portfolio through environmentally friendly initiatives. Once the market has hit market maturity, we recommend you revisit your decision to not invest within cryptocurrency. However, market maturity does not equal ethical maturity. We recommend that you wait to invest within cryptocurrency once the market has hit ethical maturity. The market may smooth out, but still lack environmentally friendly initiatives, as well as the impact on the US government may still be unclear.
To restate our presentation here with you today, we want to focus on the 3 main points that led us towards advising you against investing in cryptocurrency. First, the market is just too volatile and there are too many stakeholders relying on a steady rate of return.
Finally, we looked at the endowment history. As a reminder, endowments rely on consistent rates of returns to fund important university initiatives.
Third, we looked into deontological ethics and found out that this decision would not satisfy Kant's 3 categorical imperatives.
Finally, we recommended that you wait and redecide once the market has hit ethical maturity. For now, we recommend investing in Meridium, First Solar, and iShares Core, which will not only hit economic prosperity, but also ethical prosperity. We are Pi Consulting Group. Thank you for your time.
So here's your question. Using the environmental, social, and governance ESG framework, argue for or against the investing of endowment funds for the university foundation in cryptocurrency.
Thank you for your question. So as we touched on in our presentation, the environmental implications of cryptocurrency are huge. It's currently not ethical to invest within cryptocurrency due to its huge environmental footprint. I mean, purchasing just one Bitcoin results in 1,000 pounds of CO2 entered into the atmosphere. To answer your legal question, donors stipulate when donating money, usually, that that donation goes towards an investment that has a close to guaranteed positive return. If we were to ignore this, not only is it unethical, but it's also illegal.
Thank you, Iowa. Thank you, Iowa. Which one is you guys? Ellers.
Yeah, sorry.
There's no S on the end of Ellers, you guys. Okay. One of our handheld mics is stopped working, so one of you guys can put this on. One of you can wear that, and I'll give you instructions, then I'll hand this to the other one of you, and then we'll go. Cool? Okay, here we go. Our fourth finalist team is from Simon Fraser University. Round of applause for Simon Fraser University. By the way, all 5 teams drew numbers out of hats to determine their order. It's not that we put the Canadians last on purpose. All right, I'll give you some instructions, then we can go. So you'll have 10 minutes to give your presentation. You will get warnings at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and when the time is up, Jess here will start clucking like a chicken very loudly to cut you off. Immediately after your 10 minutes, Doug, the chair of our advisory board for the Center for Leadership Ethics, will ask you one question. You'll have 1 minute to confer, if you choose to, and answer the question. Anytime you spend huddling will count towards your 1 minute. You'll receive warnings at 30 seconds and 10 seconds remaining. Any questions? All right, have at it.
In my last years of high school, I was so worried that I would not be able to attend post-secondary. But with the help of an endowment fund, I'm forever grateful for the opportunities and experiences I was able to receive. Good afternoon, judges and stakeholders. My name is Sandra.
And my name is Chase.
And today we're here to tell you all about the importance of an endowment fund and the cryptocurrency's dangers. Our key question today is whether you should allocate your endowment fund into cryptocurrency. And we analyze 3 key issues. First being environmental impact, market volatility, and nefarious consumption. We have the strategy of act prudently, so we want to withhold your assets from cryptocurrency and establish ethical triggers for you to reinvest. Our impact is to avoid violating any of our stakeholders' interests. Starting with purpose-based ethics, we started with deontological ethics. You want to fulfill your duties as the senior leadership team, as well as also considering virtue-based ethics, making sure that you understand the importance of making decisions with virtue in mind. You also want to understand utilitarian ethics, because as a university, you interact with many people all around your community, and you want to create the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. Utilitarian ethics states that an act is right if and only if it produces the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. And through this, we want to evaluate cryptocurrency based on the state of the industry today. For an endowment fund, it starts with donors. They want to see the university succeed, and they want to see the students succeed. 47% of an endowment fund's revenue go towards students as they receive scholarship and fellowship opportunities and the high-quality education that we all strive for. The first key issue is environmental. We started off with crypto mining. Every single year, 150 terawatt hours of electricity is consumed through proof-of-work coins, like Bitcoin. This is more than the whole country of Sweden. And with this and the carbon dioxide emitted into the planet, this leads to climate change as well as pollution worldwide. We also went through electronic waste. With electronic waste from Netherlands, Bitcoin exceeds the waste from Netherlands every single year. Your participation in proof-of-work cryptocurrencies will go against your environmental regulations as a university.
When we apply these environmental issues to our utilitarian analysis, we can see that the CO2 emissions and its e-waste tip the scale towards unethicality. Specifically, we focused on the concept that the proof of work concept that coins like Bitcoin rely on and its energy usage are mutually exclusive. That means that to fix one, you will negatively impact the other. We also saw that if you increase the market competition of Bitcoin as these coins become more mainframe and people move into this industry, its energy usage will naturally increase along with this. This leads us to the key insight that the environmental issues detract from the ethical utility of cryptocurrencies. Our second key issue today is market volatility, and we focus on stablecoins as this is the likely entry point for an institutional level investor like yourself. Stablecoins promise to protect their investors against market volatility by pegging themselves to the US dollar. In fact, they're so successful at this that 70% of crypto trading is done through stablecoins. Well, there's 4 different types of stablecoins in the market. The 2 that are most relevant to you are fiat-backed and algorithmically backed coins. It's these algorithmically backed coins that present the largest problem. We focus on Terra, which was an algorithmically backed coin that maintained its peg via some form of code and an arbitrage process. However, this arbitrage process led to what Wall Street has affectionately called the death spiral. What happened was the supply of Terra rapidly contracted when an institutional level player cashed out their supply. This led to a bank run on Terra, which in turn led more Luna to be minted, starting the cycle all over again until both coins went to zero along with investors' money. The problem with this is that the harm from financial collapses isn't purely financial loss, and it actually harms society as a whole. We saw a collapse of Terra with 99% of their market cap disappearing in just 48 hours. This led the moderators of Reddit pages like r/cryptocurrency, where people would discuss their investment strategies, to actually pin the US National Suicide Hotline to these pages as investors began to think about doing the unthinkable. This means that our key insight is that the fragility of the cryptocurrency ecosystem creates the potential for significant societal harm. We also see that the largest players in this industry suffer from a similar issue. We looked at Tether, which is currently the largest stablecoin by market cap, and they maintain their peg via a supposedly equal reserve of cash and cash equivalents. However, when the US CFTC did an analysis of the reserve, they found that at least 65% of it is held in Chinese commercial paper that they have classified as junk. This means that it could all come crashing down in a similar spiral as to what happened with Terra. When analysts ran this exact scenario and found what would happen if it was to occur, they estimated that there would be up to a 90% market contraction in the cryptocurrency market, and this would have broader implications into security markets as a whole. The ultimate impact to investors would be billions of dollars lost. This brings us to our key insight that the current market is simply too unstable to meet your fiduciary duty to protect your donors' money. When we apply this to our utilitarian analysis, we can see that adding societal harm to our scale tips it into the balance of unethicality.
And this brings us to our final key issue of nefarious consumption. The biggest aspect of this is money laundering, with $8.6 billion laundered in 2021 alone. This also relates to human and drug trafficking, the 5 times increase from 2017 to 2021 as reported to the US Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. In this graph as seen above, you can see the value of Bitcoin sent to and from darknet markets increasing ever since 2018. Your participation in the cryptocurrency market will associate you with high crime, and that is not something you'd want to do as a nonprofit university corporation. From a legal perspective, we have complaints filed to U.S. endowment funds through the Uniform Prudent Management of Institutional Funds Act. With this act, it entails investors to invest with prudency in mind. And violations of this act could result in revocations of tax exemptions. Investing into cryptocurrency may expose you to these legal challenges as well as complicated tax structures that could result in millions lost every year. We recommend to you our Act Prudently strategy. Starting with our key question of whether you should allocate your endowment funds to the cryptocurrency market, we analyzed 3 key issues: environmental impact, market volatility, and nefarious consumption. And we found these issues to be unethical.
While we've established that the cryptocurrency market is unethical as an investment vehicle today, we acknowledge that as a university, you have a higher purpose to support innovation. That is why today we are suggesting you establish triggers to re-explore these investments as these ethical issues are addressed. Today we focused on market volatility and the issues with Terra and Tether. However, another competitor in the market, Circle, and their coin USDC, is promising to solve these issues by relying on a platform of transparency. They've agreed to monthly attestations with the global accounting firm Grant Thornton and have shown that they are fully backed by a true cash and cash equivalent reserve holding US national short-term treasury bills. We can also see that Tesla has implemented a similar idea of implementing these triggers into their own Bitcoin strategy. As many of you will remember, in 2021, Tesla began accepting Bitcoin as payment for their vehicles. However, shortly thereafter, they suspended this program, citing environmental concerns. However, Elon Musk himself has put out the idea that if Bitcoin can be reliably powered by renewable energy at the scale of 50%, they will re-explore this as an ethical investment vehicle. That's why today, we are suggesting you implement a similar timeline for your own ethical reevaluations. In regards to environmental impact, we've seen coins like Ethereum recently switch to a proof of stake model, which is promising to reduce the environmental impact by up to 99%. We suggest watching this market over the next year and reevaluating in Q4 of 2024, citing the results of this return. We're also expecting green energy as a whole to continue to grow and scale over the next couple of years. If this gets to a scale where we can reliably power Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies with renewable energy, we suggest reevaluating at these yearly trigger points. In regards to market volatility, we're expecting a decision in the SEC lawsuit against XRP to secure it as a security under the Howey test to come out sometime in the next 2 years. If this comes out favorably and cryptocurrencies are regulated as a security, its market volatility and nefarious consumption will naturally decrease and it may become an ethical investment vehicle. We're also expecting USDC to overtake USDT as the dominant stablecoin in the industry, and this would naturally increase the stability of the market and may alleviate the ethical concerns of investing in that time. In regards to nefarious consumption, this is the opportunity for the largest change most quickly. In the Treasury right now, they are currently evaluating both cryptocurrencies and NFTs, and we're expecting these results by the end of the year. When these results come out, we suggest evaluating what the Treasury has found and implementing this into your diversification strategy at that time. We're also expecting a Glass-Steagall Act evaluation to be conducted to see if stablecoins meet the requirements of a deposit, which would require them to carry FDIC insurance and naturally increase both the stability of the market and reduce its potential for nefarious consumption. Today, our key question was whether you should allocate endowment funds towards the cryptocurrency market. We identified 3 key issues, which were environmental impact, market volatility, and its potential for nefarious consumption. For this, we recommended our strategy of act prudently, which means today you will pause your investments into cryptocurrency and withhold your assets, but you will establish triggers to re-explore these in the future as the market develops. The key impact of this strategy will be that today you avoid violating the ethical interest of your stakeholders. Thank you for listening, and we now open the floor to any questions and answers.
Here's your question. You guys ready? Using the environmental, social, and governance ESG framework, argue for or against the investing of endowment funds from the University Foundation in cryptocurrency.
Following the ESG guidelines of investing, we see that cryptocurrency currently violates many of the UN's SDGs, and currently life on water, life above land, as well as sustainable communities, access to clean water, quality education. And based on this, we find that if you invest in cryptocurrency today, as it stands today, it will likely violate ESG principles, especially environmental damage, and therefore cannot be considered an ethical investment, especially under ESG guidance.
Thank you, Simon Fraser. We got one more left. One of our handheld mics died, so one of you can wear this lapel mic, and I will hand this mic to the other one of you after I finish giving you instructions. So, yeah, there's also a clicker.
We just have never used a clicker, so we're a little like, yeah.
Oh, okay. All you do is push that button. You can do whatever you want.
Okay,
so one of you go ahead and put that on while I give you the instructions. Okay, One more to go, folks. Here we go. Our fifth and final finalist, Concordia University. A round of applause for Concordia University. Okay, I will give you instructions and then we will go. So you will have 10 minutes to give your presentation. You will receive warnings at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and when time is up, Jess here will leap from the stage and grab the microphone from your hand. As soon as your presentation is over, Doug Zanes, the chair of our advisory board for the Center for Leadership Ethics, will ask you one question. You will have 1 minute to answer the question. You will get warnings at 30 seconds and 10 seconds. You can huddle, but that will count towards your 1 minute time to answer the question. Any questions before we start?
No questions.
All right, here you go.
Thank you. And time for when we start?
The future is ever evolving. We know it's something that's never fixed. 50 years ago, we never would have thought we'd have self-driving cars, be able to talk to Alexa and Siri on our phones, or that everyday people like all of us could go up to outer space. And we definitely didn't think that cryptocurrency would be changing the future of finance as we know it. But cryptocurrency is here to stay, and your future starts today. Hi, I'm Juliana, and I'm here with my colleague Diane, and we're Puzzle Consulting, piecing together your perfect solution. So why are we here today? Well, we're here to talk about your future and evaluate the cryptocurrency market and provide a recommendation on whether your endowment fund should invest into cryptocurrency. And we're going to do this by looking at our key considerations of the stakeholders involved, the ethicality of cryptocurrency investing, the economic viability, and the legality. We know there's a moral dilemma here. Your university has a responsibility to invest endowment funds in a viable way for its stakeholders. So we'll dive into our insights and begin by talking about those stakeholders. So what we've done is we have evaluated 10 internal and external stakeholders to your university and placed them on a salience model. And based off the salience model, we have been able to identify 5 primary stakeholders. Who are these stakeholders? Well, they're yourself, the senior leadership team, your students, the faculty, your endowment donors, as well as the SEC. We know your investment profile needs to reflect the wishes of these key stakeholders, maximizing returns, providing unique learning opportunities, upholding morals and values, as well as following all applicable regulation. So how will we make sure your investment profile adheres to these wishes? Well, we're going to keep in mind your goals as an institution, as well as 3 important factors. So your spending, which we know will be 4 to 5% of your endowment fund annually, and without spending, there's no returns, right? But when it comes to your returns, these can be very volatile depending on market conditions, and that's where your risk tolerance comes in. As an institution with moderate risk tolerance, you need to decide what percentage of your investment should go into diversified assets. But we know cryptocurrency is not the only form of a diversified asset.
In other universities, diversifying strategies can provide a little bit more insight on how you can form your own asset allocation. If we look at Harvard here, we can see that 8% of their investment policy is dedicated to diversifying strategies in which they invest into cryptocurrency. Now, if we look at public institutions such as the University of Arizona or Rutgers University in New Jersey, we see that their diversifying strategies range anywhere from 10 to 25%. But we want to minimize risk. So we believe that your university should invest 10% of its total endowment fund in alternative investment classes. But what are alternative assets?
Well, if we recall your investor profile, there are about 6 alternative asset classes that are available to you. And when we weigh the pros and cons of these different assets, we can see that cryptocurrency is no more risky than a majority of these assets, and it has the opportunity to provide just as good, if not greater, return yields. So in terms of diversification, the next most viable option for your university is investing in cryptocurrency.
But before we jump into what cryptocurrency options are available to you, we need to think about our moral dilemma. Is it even ethical to invest into cryptocurrency through your endowment fund?
And to do so, we're going to look at 3 key ethical theories. But before we jump into those, we know cryptocurrency is negatively perceived. There's no getting around that. So this is where we need to distinguish the difference between cryptocurrency itself and the act of investing in cryptocurrency. Now, on your right, you can see different negative perceptions of cryptocurrency. But on your left, let's look at the investor perception. You have increased data security due to enhanced blockchain technology. You have more control over your platforms and resources and lower transaction fees. And ultimately, when we look at the environmental impact, there are cryptocurrencies investing into the future that are making material ESG changes in order to substantially reduce their energy consumption. So let's get into the first theory, utilitarianism, providing the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. When it comes to utilitarianism, economically and socially, cryptocurrency would be viewed negatively. However, legally, it would be viewed positively, so the university cannot invest in cryptocurrency. But what's notable here is that this would be applicable to any financial asset that you cannot guarantee returns, which is almost every single one of them. Next, because we looked at the collective, let's look at the individual through libertarianism, acting in a way that promotes minimal intervention. So socially, economically, and legally, libertarianism would view cryptocurrency as a positive, so your university can invest in the asset. And now that we looked at the individual, let's look at the individual with the least amount of say through Rawls' theory of justice, where we want to make sure to provide help to the least advantaged. Now again, socially, economically, and legally, according to Rawls' theory of justice, cryptocurrency would be viewed positively, so your university can invest in the asset. Now that we've seen through these three ethical theories that cryptocurrency is an ethically sound investment, we need to ask ourselves, is this an economically sound investment?
Well, let's look at your three options. Let's take a step backwards and look at Tether. It's a stable coin, which means that it's pegged to the US dollar. However, it's also pegged with a lot of controversy, and it used Bitcoin blockchain. Now, if we take a look at Bitcoin, despite being first movers in the industry, they do not promote innovation through their blockchain, and it is almost said that it propagates more malicious intent through using its cryptocurrency. Now that leaves us with Ethereum. Their blockchain does promote innovation through their smart contract technology, and following their merge, they are decreasing their energy use by 99.95%, following a proof of work to a proof of stake system. So evidently, your university should prioritize crypto investments in Ethereum. And the Ethereum market, like the crypto market as a whole, has been volatile. But this applies to any financial asset. All of these factors influence market volatility. But because we want to minimize risk, we believe that 0.5% of your total portfolio should be invested into Ethereum. And this should be done over a long term. Many investment analysts have different opinions, but they all know that Ethereum is pointing towards an upward trend. Therefore, to maximize your investment, you need to invest into Ethereum for a strict minimum of 3 years. And now let's look at our next puzzle piece. What are the legal implications of investing into cryptocurrency?
So when it comes to Ethereum in specific, this is where it really comes down to, is Ethereum a commodity or a digital asset? Now the SEC views cryptocurrencies as a commodity, but we talked about Ethereum's merge, where they're going from a proof of work to that proof of stake system. And because of this merge, there is now possibility for them to be considered a digital asset, meaning they're subject to more regulation. So you need to circumvent this ambiguity when it comes to regulation. And this will be done through a third party. Now for cryptocurrency investing, it needs to go through an exchange platform. And there are regulatory bodies, such as FINRA, that oversee these platforms to prevent investment fraud and illicit activity. So what you're able to do here is benefit from increased regulation around the security of the investment platforms, while also benefiting from the fact that this is a decentralized asset with a lack of an intermediary. You can have the best of both worlds. So we know you need to go forth with a platform that's regulated by FINRA, and there are two options available to you, Coinbase and Binance. Because Coinbase is very user-friendly, because they are highly trusted by US regulators, and because there are many ways to invest or interest and trade crypto, this is the platform you should move forward with.
And now let's take a step back and look at the puzzle pieces that we've presented with you today. We've identified your stakeholders, the individuals that are influenced and are impacted by your strategy. Then we've determined through three ethical lenses that it is ethical to invest into cryptocurrency. Looking at different market factors, we know that 0.5% of your total endowment fund should be invested into Ethereum for a strict minimum of 3 years. And lastly, to uphold a universal maxim, we believe that you should proceed with Coinbase to move forward in the most moral and legal way. And that brings us to piecing our puzzle together. It's done, and let's look at our strategy, Ace the Future, which will address, create, and educate. Essentially, through address, we want to engage our stakeholders and implement changes to your investment policy. Through create, we want to establish the proper framework to invest in cryptocurrency and track your progress. And lastly, we want to leverage your research and increase cryptocurrency knowledge amongst your stakeholders. So let's look at our first phase. We want to target your governing board, the media that influences your stakeholders, and your students that most benefit from your endowment fund through the message that you can invest ethically into Ethereum. We will do this through reporting, which means that through quarterly investment meetings, you will bring forward to your university board your new objectives and allocation ranges, especially seeking active disclosure in ESG. Then through a letter from your president, you will be able to display to the media how you can lead other public universities by example. Lastly, through an FAQ, you can answer any questions surrounding the strategy. Next, let's look at our phase 2. We want to have the ideal investment structure in place, and this is by using Coinbase. So Broadridge is an investment management firm that has a partnership with Coinbase right now, and what this does is that it lowers the barriers for participation when it comes to crypto exchange. And then how can we track this progress? Well, Let's meet Mark. He maintains this management structure, and through periodic reports and complying with ethical standards, we can see that this will be viable in the long term.
So now in phase 3, we're going to educate the students, the public, and most importantly, yourselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to use workshops where we give students experiential learning opportunities. Then we're going to have conferences where you invest in research, and where you attend and host these conferences in order to position yourself as thought leaders. And lastly, we're going to look at your long-term investment strategy, and you're going to reevaluate every 3 years. You're going to look at the need for rebalancing, different cryptocurrencies available, as well as new platforms and new partnerships. And some impacts here are that this strategy will take place over 5 years. And of course, with every strategy, there's risk, but without risk, there's no reward, and this can be mitigated. We were here to provide our recommendation on how you should proceed with investing into cryptocurrency for your endowment fund. We did so through our key considerations and our strategy, ACE the Future, where we address, create, and educate so that you can invest in Ethereum ethically and as an innovator. So, thank you.
Here's your question. One final question. Using the environmental, social, and governance ESG framework, argue for or against the investing of endowment funds from the University Foundation in cryptocurrency.
All right, that's a great question. Thank you, and very pertinent. So when it comes to ESG, what's really important is you need to separate the cryptocurrency itself in terms of the broad, there's so many different kinds, to the actual different players and what they're doing. And when it comes to ESG, materiality is the most important factor. You can't just tick boxes. You need to make sure that you are in alignment with how you are impacting the environment. So in terms of coins like Ethereum, where they are materially reducing energy consumption by 99.9%, that is a first mover in sustainable innovation, and that would be considered an ethically sound investment.
All right, thank you, Concordia. Give me 30 seconds, we'll get you out of here. Just a couple of quick things. Students, competitors, faculty advisors, judges, we're going to leave here and just go straight out in the atrium. Except final round judges, if you guys could go out these back doors across the atrium into room 208A. We're going to go for our deliberations there. And as soon as we're done, we'll come back out into the atrium and begin our final closing ceremonies. So thanks, everybody.